Good morning, stained glass people. Today, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into using lead cane for stained glass. There's a lot of, let's say, not bad information, but information that's just not complete. Put it that way. It's uh, it's out there. You got to look for it. But I'm gonna go ahead and help you find it. What I'm gonna offer up in this video is some window uh, samples of windows that I have done and explain the different types of lead used for the window. And I will also point to ways to get it and what to ask for and what to expect with your finished stained glass product. I will also explain how different tools are being used, are used for lead in your stained glass window, and technique. I will try to do my best to address all of these things involved with using lead cane for stained glass. Without any more delay, let's move on to a few examples of windows that I have created. So, my current stained glass work, and right at the top is my Holy Spirit window. Now, this is done with mostly quarter-inch H round lead and 3/16 H round high heart lead. And let me explain. The quarter-inch H channel, what you want to use for a window like this, especially because this window was 40 inches or so, 30. I think I did a 38, a 42 with the frame, and you want to try. I mean, this window I did not use any reinforcement, and reason why, because well, for a number of reasons. Number one, it would distract from the design. And number two, using the specialty lead that is available, and it's very hard to find, but I have found it. I will reference to where to get it. The best place for small studios or hobbyists is a company called Rainbow in New Jersey, and as well, probably a better choice because they actually mention it on their website is Sunshine Glass in upstate New York. And what I'm talking about is the quarter-inch H round lead that I used in this window. Chink this down a little bit. There we go. The lead for all the areas, the lines coming out, as well as let me zoom in a little bit. It'll be easier. My apologies. And I could zoom out. Let me zoom in. All right, there we go. All the lead used here, 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 the oval, the circle, all of the outside lead, basically. Not including the lead that goes around the dove, the Holy Spirit. Uh, all this lead was 1/4 inch H round, and it wasn't a typical lead. Lead comes, it for the most part it's soft. It's easy to bend. But this lead I call it a high tensile lead. And what it is, it's a harder lead made by Cascade Metals. And what they do is they actually add more antimony and tin in the lead. And it goes by terms like hard, or medium hard, or I just call it a high tensile lead. From Sunshine Glass, they call it Cascade number 2. And again, it has higher levels of antimony, which will strengthen the actual lead itself to a point where if you take a curved section like this is one piece. It's very hard to bend. You can you're almost not able to bend it by hand. You have to grab the end with your lead dikes and curve it. Putting on top of your working cartoon to get the shape. And the end result is the lead becomes very sturdy in the window. So I use it here, and again here. It's very difficult. I mean, you could bend it. I'm going to say it's impossible, but it's better to use lead dikes. And this is one piece of lead here, okay, and one piece of lead here, and it goes right through the border here. This is one piece of lead here. It's not two. So what you do here, you bend the lead, and you keep bending it, you oversize it, and at the point, right at the tip of the lead here, you cut the top, the leaf of the lead halfway to the core, to the heart, and you bend this and this over the top of this piece, which will give you a little open void at the end here. But it'll bend nicely to the top of this piece. And you do that with this piece in your hand, and you're actually putting the lead on like you would with copper foil. And then when you get to the edge of the piece, using, you could use a piece of lead to as your guide, but typically you get very acclimated to how far you have to cut, how short you need to cut your lead to get it to fit with this lead on top of this piece here. So just by looking at it, you start getting really good, especially you're doing, what is it, 16 in here? I don't even know, but you trust me, you get good. So you can mark it. You put the lead around it, put your piece down, put it on top of your other piece, and then just mark it with a scribe. I like to use the lead knife itself, though I wouldn't use the lead knife to cut this lead because it's nearly impossible. I mean, it'd take you some time, but a better option is using the lead dikes. And here it's almost a straight cut. It's on a slight angle. Right? And then working in here, from this area here to here is one piece of lead. And it's the high tensile or the hard 1/4 inch round, H round, as well as all this, this area. and this, and all the rest. The bottom line is, when this is all assembled and soldered, and you use 50-50 solder, you don't use 60-40, and there's no using 50-50 is, I mean, technically it's not as stiff as 60-40, but when you're talking about lead joints, the actual stiffness of the solder will have no effect at all on the strength of the window. So you don't compromise using 50-50 solder for 60-40 for the purpose that it's stronger. I mean, that's not even, it's just a crazy way of thinking about it. I mean, I'm going to be blunt and honest. Don't do it. And the reason why you don't is because, especially in this kind of joint here, is the, and let me zoom in. I'm zoomed max. You're going to have a piece of lead here, a piece of lead here, and a piece of lead here. So in this area, you're going to have possibilities of voids where the lead's not going to fit perfectly. I mean, ideally you want this lead to be cut so it's snug to this lead. But in the real world, you can get really close, but you're still going to have an issue with solder trying to get down below it, or past the crown of the lead, the top leaf. And if solder does get below that and goes between the lead and the glass, you stand a strong chance of breaking your window, just by handling. So ideally, and that goes true at all your joints, you want your solder to sit on top of the lead. As well, 50-50, when you cement the window with the putty cement compound, which I will be doing a video on how to make it. The compound itself will actually aid in patina, giving the stained glass window a nice patina. And the 50-50 solder, being it has less tin, has also less shine to it. It melds better with the actual lead you're using. We call this lead cane. If the high tensile or the hard, you use the Cascade number 2. There's actually other ones you can get, but the harder lead, the high tensile lead, has more tin and antimony in it, which makes it that hard, much harder. And that's more the reason why you use the 50-50. It's very compatible in composition, and will patina nicely. All right, as I mentioned, the 1/4 inch here, and then here around the dove itself, and you see I have a lot of little bends and curves and edging. All this, it's going to be nearly impossible to do with the hard lead, the high tensile lead. So for that, I used a 3/16 standard H round top lead, and putting this piece in first, the dove body. I started with a cut here, and I wrapped it just like you would copper foil. Wrapped it nice, bending the lead, get it to the lead to shape to the dove body. Cut it here. This was actually the first piece I put in this window when I made it. I secured it down, in key areas with aluminum push pins, and they're perfectly fine to use. And the reason why I use aluminum push pins, they don't mess up the bench top. Number one, they're easy to put in, take out. Number two, if your cutting is accurate, there's no reason to be slamming in pieces, to get them to fit. That's something you really don't want to do. And if, like, just say you put the lead down first, you have a line here. You could see it on your cartoon, on your working copy. Right where that lead line comes in, you put your pin right there. Excuse me. Yeah, you put your pin right there. Because in the event that the pin itself will mar the outer area of this lead, it's not going to be an issue because you're under a solder joint. This lead here will butt up to this lead, and you'll never know that little indentation is there. So by all means, do not put pins, say, over here or over here, or areas where there's no joint. You don't want to put a pin there. Like I said, this is one piece, right, with a seam here. You put this one in, so I would put the pin here, here. I actually put a couple here, here, and I want to really anchor in this piece here. All right, you put one here, and then move on to, you could do the tail. The same thing. This is all edged in a 3/16 standard H round, which was easy to bend. It goes around the piece, and when you wrap it like you would copper foil, put it on top of this piece, and eye it up where you need to cut the lead here. It's a good way. You put it on top and you say, I got to cut that much off, and the same over here. And as well as I mentioned here, knowing the distance between the edge of the glass and where the next piece of lead will have to meet up with a cut lead. You get to learn that real quick. Alright, so you put this piece in, and then you do the same thing. Put a pin here, pin here, pin here, and you anchor it to the main body. Next, you do the wings. Now you would think that this is one piece, but it's not. The lead ends here. You start here. You get to here, and when you get to the tip of the wing, you cut the outer part of the lead, which will allow you to bend the lead over to do this area. Now this is going to be a larger piece of lead, but you'll see if you cut one side of the leaf and bend it over, it'll give you a nice point. If it's going to round off too much, you can cut off a little bit on the inside too. Alright, so you want to avoid cutting two pieces, which will make it difficult to get to miter this area. Alright, you're going to have three pieces of lead instead of just two. Alright, you get that in, same thing, you cut your miters here. Now you anchor in your wings. Alright, pin here. You could put a pin. I wouldn't put one here because that's the next piece. You put a pin here, and temporarily you could put a pin here or pin here. Right? And do the same with the other side. What I mean by temporarily is now you take this piece, there's going to be a next piece. You're going to put that in with this piece of lead. After you put this piece in, you put this piece in, get it to fit nice in here, and you know, being there's no lead on it, because this lead is the 1/4 inch high tensile lead. I'm not going to say hard, soft. It's hard tensile from now on. All right, so you could actually cut a piece. You know, you miter your high tensile lead, 1/4 inch, to the top of the wing. It's going to be roughly a 45-degree miter, and just put the lead down on top of your cartoon. You could actually extend it past where it needs to be cut, and you could cut it later. That's actually a good thing to do. It'll give you a gauge to where to cut it when you start laying out adjacent pieces. Alright? And then you go on from there. You put that in. You could put this piece of lead in. And you know, what you want to do is get all these pieces in to anchor up the top of the dove and wings. Get everything secure and holding down with pins. If you're going to use a pin against glass, just use a small scrap piece of lead, put it down first, and then put the pin on top of it. That also holds true to if you're using horseshoe nails, which I don't find you can use them. They're just too aggressive, in my opinion. You're not going to be smacking in this glass. This glass should fit perfectly if cut to the pattern. All this glass, including the dove and everything, if cut perfectly to the pattern, this should not require any smacking of the glass, you know, a hard tapping to get it to fit. Alright, so again, the review, this is the 1/4 inch H round high tensile lead used for most of this window, and then the 3/16 standard lead. It's a standard tensile. Basically, it's less antimony and tin in the lead. Alright? So if you're buying lead from a retailer, ask them. Say, I want the high tensile lead or the Cascade number 2. I got a browser open. I'm sure Sunshine Glass would not mind. I will leave a link to them for my references down below the video. If you look at metals, they got here for lead cane, and they do sell Cascade. You know, it's 100% pure lead, but it also has tin, antimony, copper. Well, I forgot to mention copper, but yeah, depending on the lead company, but they do use copper and bismuth. It's that kind of keeps everything together, helps it shape better. Or you know, it's in the process of making it, but they do mention antimony, which that's the element that will stiffen the lead. All right, and they talk about the breaking point, fine grain strength, and prevents oxidation, prolongs shelf life. I'm sure that the tin in the lead, and you know, I mean that's fine. I mean the oxidation thing, you will find that the higher tensile lead will not oxidize as quick as the standard lead. And Sunshine mentions they have Cascade number 2 alloy, and that's that high tensile lead I was talking about. So if you deal with Sunshine, say I want the you know, see if they have the high tensile lead or the Cascade number 2 alloy. They'll know what you're talking about, and tell them Gary said that's what you want. because not only in quarter inch, it comes in different profiles. One I use also quite a bit is the 3/16 high heart, which is a thinner. You can look at the distance. I mean, it almost looks like this. This looks like a 3/16 or 5/32 high heart. Gives you a wider area to put the glass. And again, you could bend it with your fingers, but a lot easier to cut with lead dikes. Shape it with lead dikes. So you're using the lead dikes to do a lot of the curving. All right, so yeah, they say it's made to add a bit more strength and stiffness as opposed to pure lead. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say it adds a lot more strength and stiffness to a point where you don't need the reinforcement I speak of. And let's see, let me shoot this down a little bit. This window, if it was glazed in a single glazing, with the wind hitting it and the rain, and I would have to reinforce it, probably with 2 horizontal bars. I wouldn't cut through the middle. I would probably add 2 here, because that would support the window from sagging if I use the standard lead. And even with the high tensile lead, I would reinforce it in some way if it was single glaze. But nowadays, most stained glass, when made, has an exterior glazing, clear glass. So you're not going to have hurricane force winds blowing against it, or it'll never be an issue where you need to reinforce this window if you use the high tensile leads. A lot of people don't talk about that, but you're hearing it from me. That's what I do. Lead is not lead. I mean, you have different types of lead, and the uses of lead. All right, I'm going to show. Here's a good one. I'm going to try to zoom in. This is a bad picture. Let's see. Here we go. I mean, it was 1998. What can I say? Beveled glass. When you're using beveled glass, there's a few things. You don't want to use a high heart lead, number one. You want to use a lower profile lead as possible. And, a window like this, this is a French door, actually. There's 2 of these being made for doors. They were double glazed, so you didn't really have to worry about putting a lot of reinforcement, though I did put some reinforcement, some flat bars. This one, they also make lead with an open channel in it where you can put steel inside the lead. And here you have an obstruction of a bevel, so it's not going to be feasible here. So you're better off just not worrying about it and taking a bar, go right across everything. Lead, bevel, everything. It has to be there. Alright? There's no way around it. Especially in a design like this. But this window, I also use the high tensile lead, but not the high tensile lead. I used a high tensile normal core. Alright, so I just wanted to show you that, and there was a lot of work here, but the majority of the window were straight lines, which now it brings me to another point with the using. Let me zoom down. Using the stronger high tensile lead, when you're doing straight lines, there's less of a chance of the having those lead lines become distorted. A good example is right here. This is a Art Deco panel, all done with the high tensile lead. And the high tensile lead will give you straighter lines, less bumping, warping, nice, clean, and a stronger window. This one again, this is I believe a 36, a 3-foot window with no reinforcement. Some folks will say, "Oh, you can't do that." Well, yes, you can. Use the higher antimony, the high tensile 1/4-inch lead. This is all done with 1/4-inch from Cascade. Even these bevels, to keep the match, I may have dropped the 3/16 on them, but I think I stayed with the 1/4-inch. Trying to recall now. 3/16. I may have dropped down to 3/16 on this green border and the bevels, just because. Which also comes in the high tensile option. Most of the time I used a high tensile lead. I've had a vendor that said, "Well, all I have is the hard lead. Is that okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, bring it, send it. Yeah, that's what I want." Because I'm not trying to cheat a process, but of reinforcing a window. But being that when you use the high tensile lead, it's going to preserve these straight lines better. And with the shell areas, the high tensile became a very strong network. These shadows in this Art Deco window, this is actually lead here, miter, lead here, miter, lead here, and then in this intentional shadow. Yeah, I do a lot of intentional shadowing with my work. It's basically one piece of lead, two, and this third one here may be a continuation here, and three. This was filled in with solder, which gives you this nice three-dimensional shadowing effect. If you're careful, and the other advantage of using a high tensile lead, you have less burn through. You could really heat it up. You don't go crazy, but like regular lead cane, you can easily melt it. Especially the thinner leaf lead, like the 3/8 flat, the 1/4-inch flat leads, 8-inch, all the flat, H leads, you get a lot easier burn through. You iron, you melt the leads really quick. So the high antimony or the high tensile leads are a lot more forgiving with the heat of the iron. So what I was getting at is, you fill this in. You're really not going to have a big hole here. Tiny little triangle. You jump your leads. I'm gonna, in a video one day, I'm gonna show you how to solder joints and then actually jump. Using 50/50, when you solder this, you solder it as normal, and the little bit of void you have here, I'm gonna show you how to jump that and fill that void where it looks like one continuous joint right here. It's not hard to do. And again, using the high tensile lead, the success rate is it's there, all right? So just want to show you that. Now I'm going to show you a window that I did with the standard lead. All right, that's important. Let me zoom down. It's too close. Let's see. We got the Woodbridge Funeral. Yeah, this one I combined them. I'll show you. This one I combined the high tensile lead, and that's a better picture. Let's zoom in. There we go. This is all done with lead, 8 foot tall by 60 something wide, all in the outside. Everything from this pictorial area, everything outside this interior arch is done with the 1/4 inch high tensile lead. All right, everything. This is also, this window is reinforced with 1/2 inch flat rebar around this arch, and then out here, 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 here. So you had a network of bars going on here. All right, and let's see, I'm trying to see. Yeah, so yeah, and this one, if you look at the bottom, I ran reinforcement right across here. I think I may have run one behind the whole window here. I think I did, and here as well, just because to add stability to the window. Getting back to the lead, I used the 1/4 inch high, tensile lead for the outside, and all in here for the dove. And the dove I used 3. Actually, I believe I used 3/16 lead, or let's see, 7/32. 5/32. Yeah, 5/32 would be close to a quarter. Yeah, it was. Let's say it was 3/16 for the dove, the sky, and a lot of this stuff down here. The irises. It's hard to see it. These are very delicate irises. I actually went, and then also the wisteria. I mean, it's a real shame I have a lousy picture here, but a lot of detail in this wisteria. I used the 1/8 inch standard, standard lead, just because everything was wrapped. When you start using 1/8 inch lead, I think it was 3/32. I think that's what I used as well for a lot of this. Once you start putting the lead together, and then when you go to solder it, you're not just soldering the joint. You're basically soldering the whole thing. You flux the whole thing. Wish I had a better picture, because the point is, when you try to solder the joints, the next joint is so close it's just gonna mend all, just blend together. So you end up soldering the whole thing, which is fine. But to bend this with the high tensile lead, you're going to be suffering throughout the process. But and then again, the network of solder on here actually makes all this lead work stronger, right? Just want to show that. Go over. Let's see. Yeah, this one is a restoration job I did. Now this lead, it's almost flat. It's like I don't call it a European profile. It wasn't a true flat H lead, but it had a very slight crown to it. And the rounded leads that we have, unless you're going into 3/8, the profiles are very hard to match to the old European lead. And this lead is very soft. It was like pure lead. What I did is I replaced this skirt, and let's see which leg. I did this leg. This is all enamels, silver stains. It was a very intensive repair job, and I had to match the lead. I had to match. So I used the 3/8 flat lead and kind of got creative with it, which it worked out fine. I mean, I wasn't trying to shadow anything or hold something from the client, but that's what I did. But I just pointed out that the lead they use is very pliable, and I used the same thing. I had the 3/8 H flat, which was very soft, and you can bend it easy enough. So I used that, and the idea with if you're going to be cutting 3/8 flat lead, you really need to use I'm going to reference, let's see, Delphi. I think they have it. I'm going to go ahead and, okay. There we go, Sunshine. Lead tools. Tools. Find this. So on. Let's see, metals. I'm going to look back here again. And rebar. Huh. Oh, that's foiling. Well, anyway, it's the lead knife. Let's see, solder, lead cane. Come on. I know I saw it. Yeah. If you go to Sunshine Glass, they have really nice display of what you can do. Use, alright? You even have the putty. The Glass Pro putty is the best. You don't want to use Miracle Mud or anything. I believe Miracle Mud has the cement in it. Not the cement, I'm talking about Portland cement. It makes it rock hard. Don't use Miracle Mud. It's really not good to use. Use the Glass Pro products. They make a stained glass putty that is very typical to what I use. I use a glazing compound, and that's probably how they make it. I've actually used Glass Pro, and it works really well. It's a whatever, but I thought I'd see the lead tools here. Tools. Oh, here we go. Tools for King. All right, lead knives. Wait, I'll tell you. They even have the brushes. Yeah, the natural bristle. So, yeah, if you want a good supplier, use Rainbow. I used them for years. Oh, here we go. All right. For the flat leads, you want to use this Don Carlos lead knife. It's got a weighted end to tap in pins and nails, and you could tap it on the side just to anchor in glass a little bit. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but you could if you know what you're doing. You can put a piece of lead down and tap that. But the knife itself, to cut the lead, it basically comes straight down, like you see here, maybe a little bit more standing up, and then you get on top of the leaf and you kind of do a side-by-side jiggle, like a twist, like do the chubby checker, do the twist, and as you do that, you shake it down, you push through the lead. It takes a little practice, but with the softer, flat lead, it's very doable. Here's another lead knife by Cascade. I do have this one as well, and it works again for the softer H channel lead. It works for the round top leads too, the H rounds, but you got to be careful because you could crush them easily. You're better off with just using the lead dikes. lead nippers for that. But yeah, if you want a good supply company, Sunshine Glass, and they carry glass, they carry everything, and I've used them. And if you go to Cascade Metals, they have. I was looking at it earlier. They have the lead cane products, showing all the difference. The U channel coming on spools. They have the capped lead, which is basically a crown of brass or copper on top of lead. The old style colonial H lead, the round flat standard leads, specialty leads, reinforced cane, which you have to cut this probably with a little mini chop saw, and then they have different alloys. This is what I was talking about. They have the extra soft. It's probably the standard or half soft, but it will burn easily. It will melt easily. And regular cane, the number 2 medium strength, they have a 4% antimony, and stronger than the number 2. And then there's 6% antimony. So they'll use antimony to add strength to the lead. If you deal with Cascade, and if you're making a simple squared up project, as I was showing earlier, ask for the, I don't even know if Cascade sells direct. You may be able to buy it through their vendors, like Sunshine and Ed Hoy. But I've noticed that, and I wasn't aware, Cascade, they actually adopted this company, Stillman's. All right, Stillman's. It's amazing. They actually have all the old style, everything you could think of for lead in profile. This lead here is the off heart, or off center they call it. This I discussed it the other day, how this is used for perimeter lead work on stained glass windows. It's also used commonly for frames that are made with stucco, or the old style church frames that were actually concrete or very thick wood. So you want a heavier edging, just to give you that that it fills the void, and it's better for using with glazing not points, but glazing clips and what have you, and wider face glazing, which is important for those type of windows, or anything with a heavy H-channel reinforcement bar, which that's a whole nother subject. But I was really surprised to see that Cascade, they adopted, or they now have all the molds and the product lines for Stillman's. 90 years dedicated to stainless. I was really nice to see this, and also and the European alloys, hard, soft, hard, hard. That's really nice to see. Do yourself a favor, head over to Cascade Metals. I'm going to go ahead and put a link below the video. They do have the PDF file, which if you look at that, I have it open here. The PDF file is very intensive. All the definitions and the different languages actually. So download the file. Educate yourself on all the profiles, the options. They have they even have the inserts where you can put inside your lead for the reinforcement. There's a lot here. So go to Cascades, download their European line PDF. And I'll put a link to that I did ask Cascade Metals in an email if I can actually show their website in a video, and it basically falls under fair use, as long as I'm not copying content. If I could use it for discussion purposes or education, which I am doing, it's totally okay. And I'm sure they wouldn't mind with the link I'm going to provide as well with Sunshine. Let's see. Get out of it. A little bit more on application. See. Let me just zoom down on this one. I tell you, sometimes zooming in is too much. Let me see if I can recall anything. The First Baptist. Yeah, these are all basically same thing. Holy Spirit. Oh, yeah. So, like I said, a lot of my my windows were done with the hard lead, the high tensile. And then where I had to use, that was broken. See this one here, another leaded glass window. This one, actually, the whole thing, I used the regular lead. I didn't use any hard lead here, the high tensile lead, because there's just too much freeform detail, and a lot of the mitering was not easy. I mean, the mitering is not hard to do. If you use basic principles with the tools, there's a few little tricks you can use the lead knives for, and as well the lead nippers, the lead dikes. There's a few little tricks. How to miter or create a lead miter that'll work, especially on longer pieces where you need a deep miter. There's a few tricks to that. All right. If you have any questions, please hit me up below. I will do whatever I can. Let's see, one more. This one, again, this is for a door, which was, let me zoom down. Close that. A wine cellar. This was glazed on top of insulated glass. So you have, it's tempered glass, and the stained glass was put against it. So you didn't need any reinforcement. People will argue that till the cows come home. But the way this door shuts, I'm going to try to do it. It shuts like that. So the stained glass will be on the outside of it. So if the door slammed, which it didn't, they had a door closer up here. I specifically told them, I said, get yourself a door closer. It's a gentle closing system. Alright? Get that, and if this door ever did slam, the stained glass would hit against the tempered glass, or press against it. But again, I used the high tensile lead throughout everything, except for the 3/16 or 3/32 lead I used here for the detail. And this has got a little wire overlay. So the network of this stained glass window is very strong with that high tensile lead. Alright? So I just wanted to bring that to folks' attention. Lead is not lead. You can get 1/4 inch lead and H-channel round crown lead that's soft. You can. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's easy to work with. But in most cases, especially if you want straighter lines, more durability to solder joints, uh, the overall strength in the window, you know, look at getting the hard lead, high tensile lead. Ask your supplier if they carry it. If they don't, they say, or if they say there's no such thing, tell them I said you can call them a liar. All right? Because there is, and it makes a big difference. And specifically ask for Cascade lead if they don't have it, because Cascade actually has 4 layers of the hardness of the amount of antimony that's added to the lead. You know, so yeah, it's harder to work with. You got to use lead dikes, you know, when you cut it, but it's definitely worth, you know, the strength of the window when it's done. And remember, I repeat this, 50/50 is used for lead. I give the reasons, you know, not only aesthetics, you know, better for less drip through. It's not, people don't use 50/50 because it's cheaper. I've heard that. I was like, oh, come on. And they say, oh, don't compromise the cost of your stained glass by using a cheaper 50. You use the 50/50 for a reason, not because it's cheaper. That's the most ridiculous thing I heard recently. And on top of the fact that 50/50, you know, they like using it because it's softer. Come on. That's not why you use it. All right? Please, you talk like that, it defines you. You don't use it because it's cheaper, and you don't use it because it's softer, and you don't not use it because it's softer. It's when you have a nice tight joint, even a wide joint, the joint don't fit good, you put down 50/50, it's going to be as strong as 60/40. Right? Stop with the myths and it's disingenuous. That's a message to folks that teach that. It's not true. You could ask me why I think, or I say that, and I'll explain. I will explain, as I do in my videos, as I do when I answer questions. You know, I'm not the stained glass know-it-all guy. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things I don't know, but I sure do know a lot. And my sole purpose of making these videos is to share that content. And honestly, it's a lot of the content that I share is mostly because when I look at stained glass online too, right? And I get intrigued. I see stuff. I say, oh, let me start reading, and I start hearing people say, you know, what they say about why you don't use this and this and that. I mean, it's just like, I shake my head. I say, you know what? Somebody's got to tell the truth, or at least give a better observation and an explanation. This was a copper foiled window. It's just something I've done. But it was a 27 by 4, fairly large window. And no reinforcement, no rebar. You know, there's enough pieces. You got enough pieces in your window. That's your rebar, okay? You know, if you got, you know, giant pieces like this, yeah, you may want to consider putting rebar in it. But there's so much of a network of piece of glass here, it would never be an issue. All right? No, there's no hinge. There's no hinge. You hear that too. It's just, and one more thing I failed to mention about using the what you call it, the high tensile lead. It's harder to stretch. you put it in the lead vise, you pull on it, you might get a couple inches out of a 6-foot piece, which is not a bad thing. When you do stretch lead, you stretch it, and this is another one. This is all high tensile lead. You stretch it like you're having a tug of war with a German Shepherd. That's a good way of explaining it. Not a poodle. Maybe a golden retriever. Like you got a rope in your hand. You're going to try to pull it out of it. That's something hard you want to pull on your lead. And making sure you're not going to fall over and kill yourself if the lead snaps. But a high tensile lead will not. You might get 2 inches out of a 6-foot limb. Maybe. Actually, you don't even have to stretch it. Not like the softer leads. You have to stretch. Right? So here's another one. This one I use all 1/8 inch. I believe this was 1/8 inch lead. All these jewels. These are 1 inch, 1/2 inch jewels. I forget. They're very small. There's 90 something of them. And then all the rondelles. I used the softer lead on this window. Throughout, because I didn't want to. I mean, the pain was real. All right. So this one I had reinforcement in this. I believe I did. It was a long time ago. All right. With that, if you have any questions, please ask. And again, check out the links below. I will have one for Cascade Metals, which will point to their main website. I didn't look into who they support as vendors, but if you see a vendor, whether it be Sunshine Glass, Mongo Stained Glass, Ed Hoy, Delphi, Glass Crafters, and you can name a few. Rainbow out of New Jersey, Franklin, they got a number of them. Anything. If they mention anything about the high tensile or hard lead, soft lead, stick with them, because that's what you want. They might say, yeah, I can get it. Well, you know what? You should be listing it. Sunshine Glass out of Buffalo, New York, they actually say it. Say, we have the Cascade number 2, which is somewhat stronger than regular lead. Cascade makes the number 4. And look for it. If you're going to do, especially you're going to do geometric stuff or windows, you really don't want to worry about reinforcement. Look into it. Back in the years ago, they actually had they did a lot of work with solid zinc H channel, which I believe Cascade has. So every piece that was cut had to be cut with a miter saw, a hacksaw, and then with the brass crown lead. But when these windows were done, they were solid. So a lot of the older beveled glass windows done that way, because they didn't want the reinforcement. Actually, that reinforcement was the zinc. And you see a lot of antique windows done like that, as well as they had the lead with the hollow core where they actually put steel inside the lead. And that was very common on church windows with a lot of horizontal breaks in it. It was almost an aesthetic thing, but it was more so because windows back then were made as single glazed. They didn't have. I mean, they did have protection glazing, but for the most part, they were single glazed. So there was a lot of horizontal lines with the saddle bars. Saddle bars are a round bar embedded into the framework of the window, and then where it met vertical lines, they would actually put a copper wire, or sometimes in some cases lead. It would wrap around the saddle bar, and they would solder it on site. Or a lot of times they just twisted it up. But the nicer ones are done. They actually solder the end of that wire, all lead. And the Cascade makes the wider lead, the flat lead with the hollow core. They insert the bar to eliminate visible saddle bars. That's what that's used for. All right. I'm gonna shut this video down. And again, if you have any questions, please ask. I'm saying quite often. I say I really do like the comments and questions. Yeah, I like the thumbs up too, and I like the subscribers and all that. But you really should mention it. But I see if you like it, thumbs up. Hit me the subscribe button. But yeah, hit me with the questions. That's what I want to see. And it's because I'm here. I'm really here for education purposes, and to document what I do know about stained glass. And it's all about the questions, or concerns. If hey, what do you think of this? I have more on lead with this proper shears to use. High heart leads actually use a copper foil shears. The high heart leads. There's a whole subject about that. I mean, I could include it, but there's a lot on that. If you have any questions, please ask, and we'll see you on the next one.